working? Ah, there it is. We're ready. Don't mute me. Can everybody hear me out there? It's really working? All brand new system, boy. Okay, we're getting ready to start our first meeting here of this year, so nice and good to be back home. I just want to thank the city again for letting us use their facilities these last couple months. So are there any additions to the agenda, Rhonda? Okay, have you guys had a chance to look at it? Joey, you want to talk about it or anything? So the board members will know what's going on? I seen it yesterday, so.
Joel Begay, County Administrative Office. The resolution in front of you is a modification of a resolution that your board approved last December 2017. This is related to the jail HVAC project. So the resolution gave authority for the chairman to execute financing documents, and that was approved in December. The contract was awarded in December. We were working with the bank to close the financing, which is scheduled for April 6th. We were notified a couple of days ago that the resolution draft which we used in December needed to be modified. We were notified by the bank council, and in order to meet the timeline, we requested that it be added to today's agenda. The modification relates to specifying the collateral for the lease financing, which the bank had initially thought that the December 2017 resolution took care of that, but they changed their opinion, and we were notified a couple of days ago about that.
What's your pleasure, board?
Move that we take up this item and find the need posted after
Posting of the.
after posting of the agenda.
Thank you. We've got a first and a second. Open to the public. Anybody have any concerns with this? Seeing none. Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, I heard Supervisor Rogers made the motion.
Yes, and Brett.
Did my mic not work?
They were talking.
Okay, call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Fleischer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Yeah, thank you, and just bear with us, people, because.
The board, good morning. There are 3 items for closed session today. However, one item will not be read into the record because there are no items for discussion, and that's the labor negotiations item in closed session under 2A as an apple. So I'll read in the other 2 items. One is existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 subsection D1. That litigation is American Civil Liberties Union of Northern California versus the County of Madera. And the other is public employee appointment employment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. And the title of the position is Director of Water and Natural Resources.
Okay, people, we're ready to get going. Take your seats, please. Turn off your cell phones. I don't want to charge you $10. We need water back here. So, County Council, we got anything we want to read into the records from closed session?
There are no items to read into the record. No action was taken during closed session.
New systems up here, everybody, so kind of bear with us today. We might make some mistakes in the the microphones might not kick in exactly right, but we're going to give her heck, and I want to thank IT, and I want to thank Madera City for letting us use their facilities for 2.5 months, and now we're back to normal, I hope, and it's kind of nice. Okay, agenda item 3. Oh, we're going to open and close in front of for some very special people. Bernadette Negron. She was one of our janitors here and one of the nicest ladies that I've ever probably known since I've been on this board. And I can't believe that she passed away. She had this big smile all the time, and every year I used to bring her down a Christmas tree. I cut Christmas trees for the Boy Scouts up there to sell, and I always brought her a Christmas tree, and I just can't believe that she's not with us, but she's in a better place and not hurting now, so God bless Bernadette. And then Bruce Kennedy, some of you might know him. He's a lawyer for many years in Madera County. He had an office right down here, right next to where Brett's pizza place is now. And he passed away suddenly just a week and a half ago. And then I know this gentleman, Augie Garrido, was not from Madera County, but I've known him since right after he quit playing professional baseball. He went to Fresno State, even when Fresno State went to the World Series. And his first teaching job was up at Sierra High School, and after playing 6 years in the pros. And so I got to know him very well. He's won 5 national championships with, started out with Fullerton, and then Illinois, and then Texas. But anyway, a great guy, and I was just wondering if any of the other supervisors have anybody special that, yeah, okay. Okay, our invocation will be by John Purcell. And Paul Yoder, would you lead the flag salute today since you come down here from Sacramento? Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Wheeler, for remembering Bernadette. She happened to be one of the members of our church. For you this morning, thanking you once again for a beautiful day. Your word says this is the day the Lord has made, and we will choose to rejoice in it. As this meeting takes place today, as decisions are made, issues are discussed, Lord, I pray that your wisdom and your help, as we honor you this morning, will come to all of us as humans here on this earth. Fill our minds with your thoughts. And Lord, of course, everyone in this room is here for the betterment of the county of Madera, for the people that live there, and all that you have planned in the destiny of this community. So we thank you for everyone that participates. We thank you for the board today. And Lord, once again, just let your wisdom, your heart of love, and all that will cause us to be better people and this community to be a better place than it is even today. We thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You, everybody, 2, 3, 4. There it is working now. Thank you, John, and thank you, Paul, very much. I appreciate it. You know, this is our 125th birthday for Madera County, so we're honoring the past, embracing the present, and looking ahead for the future. The photograph is not up there. It's coming quickly. Like I say, just bear with us today. We're going to get over all this.
This was the first Board of Supervisors 125 years ago.
Right.
Well preserved, don't you think?
Yeah. You guys sure look young. What the heck you been doing? There we go. How many people ate at the Bigfoot Drive-In up there? Perfect. I spent a lot of time in there, man, I tell you. When we were really young, we thought that was real, that big, they had show it on there, they had a big carving of the Bigfoot. Anyway, this photograph of the old Bigfoot Drive-In and Burger Pit, which once stood along State Highway 41, right where McDonald's is now, in Oakhurst, was found on the Studebaker Drivers Club Forum. The drive-in enclosed in the early 1980s when they started putting in the development there for Rayleigh's and all the other things there. Former NBA, in Major League Baseball, geez, I'm going to get all this right yet, pitcher Rudy May, who moved to North Fork about that time, he actually owned it, and he planned to build a second restaurant there, but the plans all fell through when a big developer decided they wanted to put a big store there, Rayleigh's. Inside the Bigfoot Drive-In Burger Pit, hanging on the walls were newspaper clippings reporting sightings of Bigfoot, and the restaurant also had a large plaster cast of the Bigfoot footprint. Yesterday I was talking to this guy up there. It was really funny. His folks used to have the Colburn's department store, and I don't know how we got on and now it's on here today. We were talking about eating and having root beer floats in there in the old days, and so it's funny how things come around. We got a proclamation for recognizing and honoring the Sierra National Forest. Their 125th birthday was last year, so we're kind of celebrating this all together. Throughout the year, we are picking one organization or person to honor per month. Last month was Bill Coate. This month is special because too recently had the anniversary of the Forest Service. I mean, actually, it's the Sierra National Forest, not the Forest Service. It's the Sierra National Forest, and that's pretty important. Between Madera and the Sierra National Forest in these last 125 years, look what we've accomplished. So it's pretty nice. So, okay, moving on to the agenda now.
Wheeler, would you like me to read the proclamation for presentation? Whereas 2018 marks the 125th anniversary of Madera County's founding in May of 1893. Whereas in February 1893, President Benjamin Harrison proclaimed the establishment of the Sierra Forest Reserve after the passing of the Forest Reserves Act in 1891.
Mine works, thank God. You want to use mine?
Mine's not working.
All right, here we go. 2018 marks the 125th anniversary of Madera County's founding in May of 1893. And whereas the Board of Supervisors is committed to honoring those individuals and organizations who have fostered a culture of excellence through dedicated public service. And whereas the County of Madera and the Sierra National Forest have a long-standing history with one another as they were born a mere 3 months apart. And whereas in February 1893, President Benjamin Harrison proclaimed the establishment of the Sierra Forest Reserve after the passing of the Forest Reserves Act in 1891, making the Sierra the second reserve declared in California, the sixth and largest in the nation. And whereas the stroke of the President's pen, the vital watershed of the San Joaquin Valley, protecting an area from Yosemite to the Tehachapi's over 4 million acres, was born. And whereas in 1905, the reserve acreage increased to over 5 million acres, and the administration was transferred to the Department of Agriculture, the Chief Forester, Gifford Pinchot, appointed professional staff to begin active management of the new national forest. And whereas in 1908, the Sierra consisted of over 6 million acres, and the Stanislaus Sequoia, Inyo, and Mono, now part of the Humboldt-Toyabe National Forests, were carved out, leaving almost 2 million acres. And whereas in 1942, portions of the Sierra were transferred to the jurisdiction of Yosemite and Kings Canyon National Parks, leaving 1.4 million acres, just slightly larger than the acreage today. And whereas the Sierra National Forest has helped support and create communities and tourism throughout the County of Madera and continues to serve millions of recreationists a year. Now therefore be proclaimed by the Board of Supervisors of the County of Madera, State of California, do hereby recognize and honor the Sierra National Forest for their vision, leadership, and inclusions of our communities. We deeply appreciate the extraordinary efforts which have significantly shaped Madera County into the best county to live, work, and play.
Porter? Darn it. Forest Service has changed a lot of their management plans and stuff in the last few years because they listen to the people, the regular public, instead of some of these other ones. But and it's really becoming a better organization, I think, personally. So I've worked with them for 30, 40 years. So anyway, we're moving on. Got that done. Public comment. Yeah, it'll work.
Comment. The first 15 minutes of each regular session is set aside for members of the public to comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the board but not appearing on the agenda. Items presented under public comment may not be discussed or acted upon by the board at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public is invited to comment at the time the item is called for consideration by the board. Any person addressing the board under public comment will be limited to a 3-minute presentation to ensure that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak. Any handouts to the board must be submitted to the chief clerk of the board for distribution to the supervisors. Anyone addressing the board is at the podium. Also, all persons addressing the board may state their name and county of residence for the record.
Morning. Say, Chief Information Officer. I am pleased to announce that we launched the new Madera County website last week. Can you pull that up, Rhonda? And as you can see, it's got a new look and feel, and hopefully user-friendly navigation, some streamlined menu options. We are using now the new URL, the maderacounty.com URL, which will make it easier for constituents to locate the website. Prior to the launch of the project, the overall project, we did a survey, sent out a survey to stakeholders, and we also monitored website traffic. So we're hoping that this design will meet the needs of the constituents. I wanted to give a big thank you to over 40 plus people that have been actively engaged in this project. All departments participated and working on their own content. This will be a work in progress. Content will be updated. The site, the look and the feel can be updated as we go along. And I think that that is one of the main things that we need to do, is just to always keep this updated to meet the needs of the constituents and make sure that we're constantly doing those updates so that we don't fall into what we did with the last website. One of the things that does occur is that whenever you get a new website, you have to redirect traffic to the new website from the old website, and it takes a little time for like the Google search engines or any search engine to be able to catch up. So sometimes you will be, somebody, maybe a constituent, will type something in to search for, and it will link to the old website, which should direct to the new website, should be in the operative word. There will be some issues along the way, but please just report those to IT, and we'll fix those as we come along. Right, yes, and that's something that we don't have control over. That's how many times things are searched before they start popping up the way that they're supposed to pop up.
I was at an air board meeting last week, and a lady from Oakhurst texted me and said that she loved our new website. There was a couple glitches, and so I texted her Tanya's phone number, and well, actually Tanya told me to send you her phone number. She got right on it, and then later I seen the girl at some event after that, and she said, "I just wanted to thank you. The staff was so friendly, so helpful, and whatever those concerns were, I can't tell you because that's over my head too, but they got right on it and fixed it, and she was totally happy, so thank you very much."
What we don't know is broken, so please direct those issues to us, and we'll fix them as we come along.
Out there in email or websites or whatever you are, land, if you get on our website and look at it, and if there is any kind of glitches you say about it, let us know and we'll fix them. That's our job. Thank you so much. Thank the whole IT department. It's really nice.
On the board equipment, the one thing that we didn't replace with this project was the microphones. We thought that those would work fine with the new equipment, and so we will work on that between now. Luckily, next week you're on the road, and so we'll work on finding some replacements for the microphones, because obviously those are shorting out and having some issues. So the one thing we didn't replace seems to be having some issues, so we'll fix that in the next 2 weeks, or attempt to fix it in the next 2 weeks. We'll see what we'll see what we can do on that. Thank you so much.
My name is Officer Rodriguez. Work here at Madera CHP. I'm the new public information officer. Today, I'm just here today to remind the board and the residents of Madera County that April is Distracted Driving Month. April 2nd through the 8th is California Teen Safe Driving Week. And as a department and area, we'll be conducting zero tolerance enforcement throughout the month. Special task force will be set up throughout that month, designated only to write cell phone and distracted driving tickets, unfortunately. Presentations have been set up at Madera High School as well as Madera South to help emphasize the dangers of distracted driving. As we all know, reckless and distracted driving is the #1 killer of teens in the United States. Texting is by far the most hazardous of those distractions. Teens are considered the most at risk due to their inexperience in driving and the influx of technology at their fingertips. And as a department, as an area, just want to let everybody know it's not worth it. Stop, pull over, answer the phone call then once you're at a safe spot, and keep your eyes on the road and your hands on the wheel. Thank you. Oh.
We got Chowchilla, we got Golden West, we got Minarets, and we got Yosemite. Is that going to be, Minarets is in your district, so is Golden West, and that's in the other district up there, but I'm hoping that you, since you're the public information officer, that you're making sure they do that at all those high schools.
I believe Oakers covers Minarets as well as Sierra Yosemite, Liberty, and reach out to Liberty.
Oh, and Liberty, too.
Well, there's Golden Valley.
Oh, Golden Valley. I said Golden West. Golden Valley, I'm sorry.
We'll do our best to reach out to those.
No, they're doing, got to do it.
Distracted meetings.
Yes. Public comment. Okay, Dave, you got this public comment for you.
Yes, I want to congratulate Jose Ramirez, the new welterweight champion of the world. He's a good friend of mine. He's been a great friend of this valley. Done the fights for water a number of times now at the Save Mart Center, and we're very happy to congratulate him on being the welterweight champion of the world. So we extend that to him today. Thank you.
Other public comment is, you know, we're going out on the road for you, the public, and it's been in every paper, Fresno Bee, Tribune, Sierra Star, Sierra News Online, everyone, I think even Jack Porter's thing. So next week, April 3rd, it'll be at 10 a.m. at Oakhurst Community Center. 17th, April 17th in Chowchilla at Chowchilla City Chambers at 3 o'clock. We're trying different times so we can see what the public would like. And then May 1st, it'll be at the Madera Ranchos at Liberty High School at 5 o'clock. So please mark your calendars and please try to come to that if you don't mind. Okay, we're going to, the public hearings, I changed them to 11 o'clock now, so we won't be having that until 11, so we can go on with the regular session. And we're going to start with 7A, and then as soon as we get that done, we're going to move 7H up, and but we'll do 7A first. Oh, I skipped right over. Why do anything you want to do on that? Consent calendar. To the public, any questions on the consent calendar? Seeing none from the board members? Okay, roll call, please.
The vote, Supervisor Frazier? Yes. Supervisor Rogers? Yes. Supervisor Poitras? Yes. Supervisor Rodriguez? Yes. Supervisor Wheeler? Yes. Vote passes 5-0.
Oh, 7A. Miss Rhonda.
Proclamation declaring April 16th through April 20th, Week of the Young Child. Whereas Madera County is home to more than 14,083 children ages 0 from 5 years old. This age group experiences the most critical opportunities for brain growth and development And whereas it is repeatedly determined that Madera County children are exposed to risk factors that compromise optimal brain development, with 28.1% of families with children 0 to 5 living in poverty. And whereas the most significant of these risk factors impacting Madera County children include 54.8% of families with children 0 to 5 headed by single moms, and 82% of these single moms do not have a high school diploma or equivalent, and 46.5% of these single mom households are living in poverty, and 70% of the children 0 to 5 experience substantial maltreatment. Whereas research demonstrates that despite risk factors, early intervention with families during the child's first 5 years of life has proven to impact the child's long-term outcomes. And whereas to raise awareness about the importance of early childhood development, First 5 Madera County will join the rest of the nation in observance of the Week of the Young Child on Monday, April 16th through Friday, April 20th, 2018. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of Supervisors of the County of Madera, State of California, it is hereby recognized the week of Monday, April 16th through Friday, April 20th, 2018 as the Week of the Young Child in Madera County, and supports the efforts of First 5 Madera County to promote healthy development of our young children.
Time, Max. Okay. Picture that. What are you guys doing? You're slipping out there. No, I shook his hand. Okay, we're going to move up to 7H.
Consideration of approval to ratify the side letters of agreement with the clerical, technical, and mid-management bargaining units regarding fingerprinting criminal record checks for employees who work with the electronic recording delivery system for Madera County's clerk recorder.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Adrian Hewitt reporting this morning. This is an item that impacts the employees in the county clerk's office.
You didn't push the button. Don't leave the button alone. Is it on? Is it green? Okay.
This is an item that impacts the employees of the county clerk's office. And the elected clerk recorder is here if the board has any questions. This is a new requirement pursuant to a section of the California Code of Regulations that requires individuals who access information through an electronic recording delivery system, they have to become fingerprinted. Therefore, the side letter outlines the provisions by which we have to follow to fingerprint these employees. It's very important to note, I wanted to share with the board that one of the items that the unit was very adamant about was that we would not automatically terminate an employee if they came back with a less than favorable result on the live scan. And we did agree to that, and that's in the side letter. And Ms. Becky Martinez is open for any questions, and so am I.
Right? Okay, anybody from the public have anything to say on this? Seeing none. Board members? Tie. Well, we got two ties for first, and we got two ties for second. So Brett made the motion, and Dave seconded it, and Max thirded it.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Everybody knows in a couple of weeks we won't be even doing that. There'll be on the screen, you'll see a chart on there, and when I call for the vote, they will all vote that way, and it'll be up there so the public will know. So we won't have to go through this and see if our microphone's on or anything else. So that's coming shortly. So, okay, now we're going to go back to 7B.
B, Madera County Legislative Platform. 1, update and presentation on state legislative and activities by Paul Yoder of Shaw, Yoder, Antwit, Inc., our county lobbyist. 2, discussion and consideration of approval of the 2018 Madera County Legislative Platform.
Good morning. Thank you for representing us, and thanks for coming down to give us a spiel.
Test. Are these mics working? Yes, okay. Good morning, supervisors. The district chief of staffs are all very excited to share the new updated platform with you here today. This item has two parts. One is to bring you your update. So the last time you guys reviewed this was in 2016 after initially establishing it in 2015. Then Chairman Supervisor Wheeler asked us to kind of dive in and see what else is out there. So we've made a lot of changes in working with department heads around cannabis, child support. A lot has changed in the last year and a half, and those changes are reflected here. Also, since you guys last looked at this, we got a grant manager. We have a water and natural resource department. There's a variety of changes internally as well. So Paul Yoder and his team has also reviewed this in detail and kind of gave it their stamp of approval. So with that, Paul Yoder, the county lobbyist.
Nice alliteration.
Yeah. We're in the second year of the two-year legislative session. 2,600 new bills have been introduced in 2018. There's a little bit of something for everyone, if you will, in the 2,600. For example, just on the issue of fires and disasters in California, there are no fewer than 50 bills that have been introduced on that subject. 16, maybe even 17 of those bills relate to insurance issues that are specific to the fires that folks have suffered over the last year and a half. I want to talk a little bit about the two-thirds supermajority before I move into the budget. There have been 4 resignations and 1 leave of absence so far this year in the legislature. A lot happened last year that was done by the two-thirds supermajority vote in California. SB 1, SB 2, SB 3, those are the transportation and housing-related measures, reenactment of cap and trade, on and on and on. Because of the resignations, because of the leave of absence, because of the way the state constitution works, we're at a juncture right now where if you hear about another resignation next week, the governor's actually past the point under the state's constitution where he can call special elections.
Wow.
So right now, for all the resignations that have occurred, the governor's already called special elections to fill those seats, and the seats will be refilled by the end of the summer prior to the end of the legislative session. However, if any more resignations occur going forward, we've probably gone through that window where it can't happen anymore. And the legislature's ability, if they're going to try to pass anything, the majority party is going to try to pass anything just amongst their own members, just with their own votes, not in a bipartisan fashion. Lose that ability. Certainly, some of the things that happened last summer. Certainly, some of the things that happened last summer did happen on a bipartisan vote or votes. Shifting to the budget very quickly, the money keeps coming into the state of California. The governor's proposed to actually max out the state's so-called rainy day fund and put another $2.3, $2.4 billion into the regular reserves for a total of about $16 billion total. You're going to see a little bit of a tug-of-war between him and the legislature on that proposal. And the reason being, when the governor proposes to max out the rainy day fund, again, in the state's constitution, there are some rules that kick in with respect to additional surplus monies that might be forthcoming that I don't think this legislature, certainly Speaker and the Pro Tem, are maybe going to want to happen. So you may see pressure on the governor to actually reduce the amount of money that he is proposing to put into the rainy day fund. And I'm happy to take questions about that if there are any. This is because there's so much money. We're in this sort of era of the big asks within the state budget process. CSAC, the California State Association of Counties, has its own $1 billion plus request right now of the governor and the legislature to fund to provide funding to combat homelessness in California. The state's Big 11 mayors also have a $2 billion ask on homelessness. And I mean, to think that we've got requests in the state budget of $1 billion here and $2 billion there. 10 years ago, that would have been absolutely unthinkable. We obviously had a $25 to $30 billion state budget deficit. So times have certainly changed. For the county specifically,
good news from the governor, for example, he wants to up the amount of spending in California to modernize election equipment and systems in California. It's very nice, very happy about that. A little bit of bad news, the governor is sort of stuck to his guns and is refusing to relent on the in-home supportive services deal that was cut last year. Just said, I'm done. I negotiated what I was ever going to negotiate in the remainder of my term last summer. Don't want to talk about it anymore. Good luck with the next governor. Specific to Madera County, child support was mentioned a minute ago. We are working on an effort in conjunction with several other counties in California to not affect the base funding for child support programs in California, but for the counties that certainly could use more money going forward, and that's 14 of the 58 counties in California. We're trying to get a little bit of additional funding there for you, for 13 other counties. Every dollar that California spends brings in $2 more.
Right.
So we're lucky enough to secure about $40 million. That's going to bring in an additional 120 approximately to the 14 counties. We're working on that effort, and you are one of those. Moving into ballot measures, just want to remind everybody that on the June ballot, among others, there will be Proposition 68. That is the ballot proposition that would provide $4 billion in resource and parks funding in the state of California.
$4 billion?
$4 billion. And that's was put on the ballot by Senate Bill 5 by actually no longer Pro Tem Debbie De Leon. On the November ballot, we already have a measure that would provide $4 billion for housing in California. Signature gathering for the November ballot is still occurring. You may actually see another resources bond on the November ballot that would be to the tune of $8.5 billion. So if that qualifies and the voters approve Proposition 68, that's the $4 billion resources bond on the June ballot, and then another initiative qualifies and the voter approved that as well, voters I should say, that's, if you add that to Proposition 1 and the money that's still available through that for water resources needs in California, that's going to be over $15 billion.
Wow.
That the state will have to spend on resources-related purposes in California. So definitely, I know resources is a big issue in the Senate, and I want to highlight that today for you. Process-wise, and I'm happy to take some questions. We are right now in the summer recess of the state legislature. They take a one-week recess.
Any questions from the board members, Paul? Maybe from the public? Thank you. Any questions from our staff? It's a great job they've done with all of the departments. You want to say something? Oh, you were leaning forward. Okay. What's your pleasure, board? You want to approve our legislative platform?
I'll make a motion for approval. Second.
Got a second from Brett. All in favor? Do a roll call.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Poitras? Yes. Supervisor Frazier? Yes. Supervisor Rogers? Yes. Supervisor Rodriguez? Yes. Supervisor Wheeler? Yes. Vote passes 5-0. C.
That addition to the agenda and get that out of our hair so we don't forget it. Joel?
You can call that item at any point. You can call that item at any point during the regular session.
To agenda.
members of the board, Joel Brigay, County Administrative Office. The resolution that was requested to be added to the agenda today is a correction to the resolution that your board approved in December 2017, authorizing the financing of the jail HVAC project. We were notified late, exactly 2 days ago, by the legal counsel of the bank that there needs to be a language change in the resolution. So because we are scheduled to close financing on April 6th, it needed to be added to today's agenda so we can meet the existing timelines. Right. So it's superseding the previous resolution.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers? Yes. Supervisor Rodriguez? Yes. Supervisor Poitras? Yes. Supervisor Frazier? Supervisor Wheeler? Yes. Vote passes 5-0. To adopt a resolution approving an amendment to MCC number 10478C 2015, second amended revolving loan fund promissory note, and second amendment to revolving loan fund agreement with the North Fork Community Council, and authorizing the chairman to execute it and related documents, including reconveyances for 3 lots in escrow. 2, consideration of entering into an amendment to MCC number 10478C 2015 with the North Fork Community Council for the second amended revolving loan fund promissory note and second amendment to revolving loan fund agreement.
Mr. Chairman, Matt Treber, Planning Director. I also have Jamie Back, Senior Planner, and Dexter Marr, Deputy Director, with me today. This item, the North Fork Community Development Council has requested an amendment to an existing agreement we have on a 2007 EPA revolving loan fund for brownfield cleanup sites. So, and if there's any questions, Dexter can certainly go into detail on what that fund can be utilized for. But it is a revolving fund. It doesn't touch any impact of the general fund or anything of that nature. They do have an interest in selling 3 of those lots. They have an agreement with the purchaser of that. As part of that agreement, they are going to pay back a portion of that loan, $4,000 an acre, back into the revolving loan fund, which the county controls, and we can utilize for additional brownfield cleanups at that time. They do make monthly payments. They are on time. They make those routinely every month. And so this is simply an amendment to that agreement. The existing agreement requires a 30% payment of the sales of any lots. However, under this instance, these 3 lots, they're utilizing the proceeds to build additional infrastructure to allow for the full development of that site, which will then expedite the payback of that revolving loan fund is anticipated. So with that, staff's available for any questions. We are recommending the approval of this amendment to the contract.
Staff for working with them. They came to me with this a couple weeks ago, and they had finally got it so we can sell a few more lots. It's so nice to see things. They had their annual meeting last night. It's finally, the mill site is finally developing, and we're getting some money. They are getting some money. I used to be on that committee and board before I got elected here, and they're paying back our loan. They've been paying right on payments, and this is going to be a pallet company and a road construction company that's buying these 2 lots, and the other one is Mark up there at Recycle Lumber Place. Has been in business but's been written it, so we can finally sell it, get that money to help improve more lots so that we can keep moving forward to do that. And they actually announced last night they're working with staff and stuff for a community sewer system, but maybe we can even connect with the town of North Fork. So it's really a positive thing for us up there. After all these, since 1993 when the mill shut down, hasn't been good. So any public comment on this? Hearing none, what's your pleasure, board?
Make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Max. First and Max, and second from Brett. Roll call, please.
For the vote, Supervisor Rodriguez, Supervisor Frazier, Supervisor Rogers, Supervisor Poitras, Supervisor Wheeler. Vote passes 5-0. 7D, Corrections Department, information and discussion of Madera County Department of Corrections policies regarding communications with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and compliance with the California Values Acts, SB 54.
Gonzalez, Assistant Director out of DOC, representing Manuel Perez this morning. I come to you this morning bringing this item before the board as the second of two open sessions regarding the settlement that was reached with ACLU and Madera County Board of Supervisors. On March 13th, the first session informed me that we would be downloading the policy SB 54 on the county website. That has been done and completed thanks to the assistance of county IT. So that is on the website, and the public can view it at any time they wish to go in there. Now, I went in there. It's real easy to get to, so it's working fine. However, at the conclusion of the March 13th, I think it's important that I add a little clarification. After the board meeting of March 13th, an article appeared in the Fresno County Bee containing inaccurate information about this matter, including DOC policies before and after the ACLU's lawsuit. The article referenced Madera County vowing to keep ICE away from the jail. However, neither the county nor DOC had agreed to vow to keep ICE away from the jail during that meeting. The article also referenced a scheduled vote on the report that was given on that particular day on March 27th, which is today. The board is not required, as you know, to vote on DOC policies or the report that was given by Chief Perez, and this item is not scheduled as an action item today. So, to the extent SB 54 prohibits DOC from communicating or interacting with ICE or allowing ICE into the jail, the DOC complies with SB 54, as you're all well aware of. However, any changes in the manner in which DOC communicates or interacts with ICE, and any changes in DOC policies in this regard since last year are not a result of the ACLU lawsuit settlement, but rather have been made to comply with SB 54, which became effective on January 2018, as you're well aware of. And I just have to finish up by saying why some individuals or organizations may suggest or recommend that DOC's policies could go further and prohibit all communications with ICE. SB 54 does not impose such a blanket prohibition. There remains room for local law enforcement agencies such as DOC to exercise discretion and communicate, interact with ICE in a manner not prohibited by SB 54 or otherwise. In this regard, DOC does not initiate contact with ICE or violate any restrictions imposed. But DOC will continue to appropriately respond to ICE requests for notifications and transfers, and DOC's responses and communication with ICE will continue to comply with applicable state and federal law. Whether DOC policies are called cooperation or sanctuary is for others to label. The current DOC policies comply with SB 54 and applicable state and federal law, and also attempts to find the appropriate balance between protecting public safety and helping to keep dangerous criminals off the street without expending limited county resources for immigration enforcement. As a result, the DOC will remain a responsible, and I must say that again, will maintain and remain a responsible law enforcement agency in protecting public safety in Madera County. I'm open to any questions that you may have regarding this and make myself available to.
From the council? Seeing none? thank you very much. This was our second hearing on this to announce it, so thank you very much.
I want to thank you. That was very clear. It's very concise, and people don't have to read anything into it. It is what it is. So I appreciate the statement and the clarification.
If there any public comment on this? Good morning.
My name is Marisela Sanchez, and I'm here on behalf of the ACLU of Northern California. Thank you again for the board, or to the board, for giving the public an opportunity to weigh in on the county's jails policies for providing a full copy of the policy. As we state in our public comment letter, there are a number of opportunities for the Department of Correction to clarify the policy. For example, the department should be consistent throughout its policy in using its terms it defines. The policy also references sentenced persons in some provisions, but SB 54 applies to both sentenced and non-sentenced individuals in the department's custody. Lastly, the policy references exceptions for immigration holds, but there are no exceptions under SB 54. These are all opportunities where the policy can be clarified and strengthened to ensure it is in compliance with SB 54. Again, we thank the board for bringing this item to the public and encourage you to take affirmative steps to make improvements on its current policy. Thank you.
Very much. Any other public comment? Yes, Scott.
Public comment. I'll just briefly respond. We received the ACLU's letter. We thank them for the letter. We just received it late last evening, so we're reviewing it. To the extent that we agree that there's any opportunities to update the policies or to clarify any of the existing policies, we'll take a look at the letter and see about doing that. Again, if it is updated, it'll be updated at the department level. It won't be brought back to the board. So if there is an update, stay tuned, I guess. If you're members of the public, it would be updated and available on the website. But, yeah.
I agree with this, what Scott just put. We're constantly looking at our policy, revising, and if you look up at the policy, you'll see revision dates. That's just a matter of maintaining.
Policies. We do that all the time.
We're mandated to do that by BSCC every 2 years as well. So the policies are always under constant review, so that we make sure that we're in absolute conformity with SB 54 and any other policy that we have.
The bills, anything the state comes down, we have to update our ordinances. We do our policies. It's open book, and it's always rotating. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming for your comments. Okay, item 7E.
7E, County Administration Department, Animal Shelter and Adoptive Services to the City of Madera. Direction to staff to discontinue animal shelter and adoption services to the City of Madera due to unpaid charges in amounts of $175,000. Authorize services to be restored to the city once the past due amount is paid in full and an agreement is signed by the city for 2018-19 services in the amount of $511,620 based on their updated fair share of cost.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Eric Fleming, County Administrator. As your board is aware, we run a tight ship when it comes to budgets, and so in September or so of last year, in 2017, we realized that Animal Services was having a revenue issue. Each year, department projects revenue in an accurate way, not over or under, and when they start falling off, it sends up red flags for us. So we did some digging, and we realized that one of the people that or the accounts that we're providing service to was not paying their bills. That happened to be the City of Madera, which makes up about 40% of the workload for our animal services, our animal shelter. A little bit of history. Up until about 2012-13, the City of Madera was paying roughly $75,000 a year of the probably nearly $1 million annual budget. That was probably okay in the past, but as we were recovering from the recession, we could no longer afford to subsidize the city for this service. So in discussions with the previous city administrator, there was an agreement, informal, to have them get closer to their fair share. The auditor controller did prepare a fee study that wasn't acceptable to the city administrator, so we went out and we hired MGT to complete a thorough fee study, which showed that the city share at that time was about $215,000, fair share. We then, with some going back and forth, we agreed to settle an amount of $175,000 a year and give them about 3 years to ramp up to that new annual fair share of cost. So after that 3-year ramp up, we got to, I think, 1 full year of the new $175,000 amount leading into the 17-18 fiscal year, and then we all of a sudden stopped receiving the payments from the city. So not quite sure what happened there. We just want to get it resolved. We want to continue to provide the service. And we did think it was a good idea in talking with the current administrator that we go ahead and update that study, the fee study, so that we have all the backup we need to show the city's fair share. The cost, you'll see that new report and old report are both attached, as well as the informal agreement email that I had with the city administrator. This cost, new cost, is based on the city's actual number of impounds and intakes into our facility. And the updated fair share, because we have rebounded from the recession, we've restaffed. The new budget, I think, is probably $1.3, $1.4 million a year. So the city's new share of that cost is about $511,000 a year. I will update you that in last Friday we did receive a partial payment from the city for $81,000, and payments due to date through February totaled $131,250. So we still have about a balance of $50,250 to bring it current through February. What we had agreed to do is spread it evenly over a 12-month period, and it comes out to about $14,583 a month. So what we're asking is that we're recommending that your board authorize us to request payment to become current, to avoid discontinuing the service. We hate to do that, but in a private business, if someone hadn't been paying for a year, they would have done it a long time ago. So with that, we're here seeking your direction. Along with that part of it, we would also recommend that an agreement be entered into, formal agreement this time, with the City of Madera. I believe County Council is working on drafting that for their review. So I'm available for any questions you may have.
I think
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that. Mr. Frazier.
I guess I was temporarily overlooked. Thank you for this, and I think the important part here is having a more formalized agreement that everybody knows exactly what we're paying. We had the study, and that's what it was based on, like the cost per animal. But then we didn't really implement it cost per animal. It was a lesser amount that was negotiated. So I think then when we changed policy regarding our cats, which was instead of taking them in and euthanizing them, it was the spay and neuter, which has worked much, much better. Then it gave way to change, saying, well, we're not taking in this many, and it became open to interpretation. And so instead of having, just a email handshake is what it amounted to, and paying each month, it opened it to interpretation. So going forward, we can't have those kinds of agreements. That's not how. Yeah, we especially as things change, and it was just treated at the city as a line item in a budget, where before we were paying. And I was on the council when that happened, as was Supervisor Poitras, and we just bolstered our line item in the budget in regards to animal services, and that's how it was handled. And that just can't happen anymore in these kinds of things. I think we've found that, and if we're going to have a study that shows exactly how much the value of service is, then we apply that to that, or whatever the negotiated amount is and share is. Then that's how we apply it, and we have county council write up the agreement for services as a contract would be for, like you said, in the private sector, how we would get paid. This is what it is. If we were to change anything in the policy, then there would be some way to renegotiate. So I'm glad to see that the city has paid. I'm guessing that's probably up to the amount of what the budgeted item was in the budget. There would probably have to be some kind of budget amendment that goes back. I think we have a good working relationship with them, and you know, coming back with actual costs and then formalizing that, and everybody understands what it is and what the services are is the way that we should do business going forward.
Supervisor. You know, I think it was about 6 months ago, and there was several of us from the county and the two cities that met at the Muni Golf Course to talk about this concept of intergovernmental relations. So it's, you know,
quick, that was a public opening meeting. People could come to that too. So
right.
I don't want nobody think we did that. I just, no, it wasn't a secret meeting. It was a public meeting. Anybody could go to it. Public.
And, you know, so fast forward 6 months, and, you know, we have this before us. It's just kind of like, you know, I think we have some work to do on that intergovernmental relations in terms of sitting down, negotiating, discussions, you know, and so forth. And you know, I hate to see it get to this point. And what I like what Supervisor Frazier's suggestions were and are, and not only that, but I think we need to sit down with our partners at the city and talk about going to more of the details of the study, because I want to make sure that the city approves the study, because it could be that, you know, they sit down and look at it and go, okay, well, it's flawed here, flawed here, flawed here. Well, let's find out what it is. Let's work through those details, and then work on the best practice. Let's look at other counties to see what they do. I Googled animal services for counties yesterday, and I came up with San Luis Obispo County, home of probably the finest university in the state of California, and Cal Poly. But
Santa Barbara County.
You know, they said, anyway, they had a really nice mission statement and what they do, and they said they provide animal control services for 9 incorporated cities. So now I don't know what the issues are, if there are any issues between those cities and the county, but it looks like it's a nice, neat type of presentation, and they probably have some methodology that they use to get to that type of an agreement. So I'd like to turn the thermostat down on this whole issue and sit down across the table and look at, again, best practices. Look at the state, and then come to an agreement that we can all agree on. And it could take, I don't know if it's going to be an ad hoc committee or whatever, but what I don't want to do is just sit down and say, okay, here's the contract, guys, take it or leave it. You know, to me, it doesn't show a whole
Do things like that we never have.
Well, yeah, we talked about contract and presenting it, and maybe that's the first part of a discussion. But I think I saw an earlier version of something that talked about, you know, that being the case. But yeah, let's open up the communication, again, if necessary, an ad hoc committee, and show the public that we can come to a good conclusion without threats and so forth. So, thank you.
Chairman. Oh.
Rogers.
Yes. Am I on? There we go. You know, my thoughts go back to Fresno Pacific University, where my major professor always emphasized that in business you look for the win-win, not the windfall. And I think that's where we're at. We don't want a windfall. We want a win-win. And we need to work together, because the service that we provide consolidates, it eliminates the necessity of duplication within our county. It consolidates that effort countywide for several institutions, and it's an important service because when it runs amok, it can be a health and safety issue. It can be a real problem, and it can be a problem for animals. And you know, we don't want that either. So we are looking for the win-win, not a windfall. My philosophy and thought has always been that when in county government, when a person uses services, they pay for those services. Whether you're a developer, builder, when I come to the counter at the building department, I'm just the same as Joe Blow out there or whoever else is out there building. I come and I pay my permit fees. I come and pay my building fees. And then I'm permitted to do that and go out and do my work, and the inspectors come and inspect my work just like they do everybody else's. I'm no different than anybody else. And when we talk about providing a service to another aspect of our government, we want to treat them just like our customers. We treat them fairly, and we're not looking for that windfall. We're looking for the win-win, but they do have to pay for the services that we render. It's not fair to the rest of the county to say, well, we'll give you a break, we'll cut you some slack in this area because you're our buddies and we want to help you out. Well, that's not fair to Chowchilla. That's not fair to North Fork or anybody else. And I'm not insinuating they're saying that, but let's keep in mind that we want to be fair. We want to not a windfall, but a win-win.
That kind of brought up the point of service. You know, I think part of it, if we're the ones that are offering the service and we have a customer, right, that would be the city of Madera, and if there was a change that we had in our policy, we have to explain what that change is, right? That if because the cost and the actual service for cats didn't go away. We're still dealing with that population of animals. They're, you know, the feral cats, and we've just kind of shifted that a lot to the FMAS deals with a lot of that. The costs are still there, but it's as the service provider, we're required, or we should be required to communicate what those changes are to our customers so they understand where that cost is, how it's still there, and so that's just something that we have to work better on in all of our communications, and wherever with, like Supervisor Rogers was talking about, in any of the areas where we're offering a service and we're the service provider, we have to create that education for our customer base.
I would absolutely agree, and usually in situations like this, there is a breakdown in communication on both sides, and I think we didn't do a good job of communicating a slight tweak that we did make in that service. But with PG&E, I mean, using an example, you know, you go a year, at some point as the administrator, I have to make the difficult decision to make this recommendation to your board. We can't just let that go. We have to reclaim that revenue by the end of the year. Now, I will say that the current administrator and I are off to a great start. We have a good communication channel. It's going to take a little while to get over that previous culture, I'll tell you, because it was a tense one and it was a difficult one. There was not communication. So I think your board knows. I communicate, and I have no problem with that, and there has been dialogue, and I feel like it's improving. I feel like the last thing we need is a committee to look at something like this. I'm confident that the current administrator and I can work that out.
Actually, Brett and I met with two of the council members already and kind of hammered some of our differences out on it. I mean, we just, it's just one of those things that got by the wayside. We do have a new administration over there, and I've been in meetings where it was controversial, not on this, but on other things, and I'm just happy who we have now. I've worked with Steve and his people over there many times on what he's been doing as the chief of police, and he's a great man to work with. And I'm looking forward to get this settled, and I have no problem with coming up with that. We've got to come up with that. We had to do the study. We can't pull these numbers out of the sky. Just like when we raised our fees that, for our county services, we had do a study to see what the actual costs are. That's what we do, way we do business, and then we present that. The staff presents this to us, we look at it, and then we move forward. Now we've done the study, we got the numbers, and now we'll sit down at the table and we'll come up with something and whatever it might be. Rob?
Just, I think it's very obvious, but this is what happens when there's not a formal policy. You know, it's like.
None of us knew that. I mean, it's not like we were, you guys as city councilmen didn't know it, we as supervisors didn't know it.
For years, and I don't even know how far it goes back, that the city was paying the county $75,000. Was it 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? I don't know, because it, you know, I mean, at some point, the value of that $75,000 goes down due to present value type calculations, but yeah, formalization, best practices, we can move forward.
Rodriguez.
I think what we're talking about is, okay. Eric, we've got to the point where you're either going to pay up or else shut it down. Have we been discussing with the city all along, as our fellow supervisor has suggested, we got to the point where they have refused to pay the amount that we're requiring to, you know, we have bills to pay too. As our director over there knows, we have bills to pay. Have we negotiated with the city of Madera so that we can proceed with their payments, or have they refused to pay? What is the status here?
Mr. Supervisor Rodriguez, the status is there has been an ongoing dialogue, but I think the challenge has been the city's been going through a transition with administration, and there's been a change of personnel. So I think that's made it extra difficult. There's been an ongoing dialogue, and the issue is just, you know, the payment hadn't come. But we did get $81,000 of it last Friday. So to me, that's a great sign, because, you know, we already had been there with our conversations, and now we actually are starting to get the revenue. So I'm confident that we can get it worked out.
You're saying you're going back to the negotiating table and try to work out a solution at this time?
And I don't think it's going to take that much for the city administrator and I to get that worked out. I really don't.
Any questions from the rest of the board members? I'm going to open up to the public. Anyone from the public have anything to say on this? Seeing none, what's your pleasure, board? Authorized to keep moving forward?
Moving forward.
Center?
Just the communication open. I think you have direction. I don't think we have to have a formal, right?
I think you're headed in the right direction. Good. Thank
You guys want to make a motion on that, item 7? Authorized service to be restored to the city, past due, and all that? Update.
I think we're ahead of it there. I think move forward, I think.
Your thumbs up? Okay. Item 7, 11 o'clock. I'm sorry, went over. Doggone it. Public hearings. That one went a little longer than I thought it was going to do.
State Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division to consider an appeal of the Planning Commission decision to approve the application of Bob Shockley for a conditional use permit to allow gas station mini mart. The property is owned by Roger Guthrie and is located on the north side of Avenue 12 at its intersection with Kensington Drive. The property is zoned Commercial Rural Medium Manufactured Housing Architectural Review Overlay District. A draft mitigated negative declaration has been prepared concerning the proposed project in compliance with provisions of the California Quality Act and is available together with the initial study for public review at the Madera County Planning Department.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Treber, Planning Director here. I also have Becky Beavers, my Deputy Director, that has a brief PowerPoint presentation for the board.
The project that we're considering today is Bob Shockley. He has applied.
Speak a little closer into that.
Sorry. Bob Shockley has applied for a conditional use permit. This project was appealed to. This is an appeal of the Planning Commission's decision to approve the conditional use permit. DB Ashland Incorporated is appealing the Planning Commission's decision to approve the request for a conditional use permit to allow a gas station and food mart. The opposition is based on 3 gas stations and mini marts are within 4 blocks. The mini mart would be serving food, which would be unnecessary competition for established mini marts and restaurants and the Rancho Market. And the property could be put to a much better use for other businesses. The property is located on the north side of Avenue 12 at its intersection with Kensington Drive in Madera. A CEQA analysis was done, and it was determined that a mitigated negative declaration was appropriate. Specific areas of concern were aesthetics, air quality, and hazardous materials. The general plan designates this property community commercial. The zoning is commercial, rural, median. This is a site plan of the fuel canopy and the Chevron Chevron station and mini mart. The project site consists of 0.98 acres, or almost 1 acre, located on the north side of Avenue 12 in the community of the Madera Ranchos. The area is a mixture of commercial and residential use. On the east and west side of the subject parcel are commercial facilities. To the north is a single-family dwelling. The facility will have 6 employees in 3 overlapping shifts. The mini mart with sandwich shop and deli is 3,584 square feet. It'll be stucco over a wood frame. Water will be supplied by MD-10A, and wastewater will be conveyed to on-site engineering septic system. The staff recommends that the board denies the appeal and upholds the Planning Commission's decision to approve Conditional Use Permit 2017-28, Mitigated Negative Declaration 2017-38, and the Mitigation Monitoring Program. Thank you.
Questions from our Supervisor Rogers.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. What was the vote of the Planning Commission again? I know it's on here, but I can't see very well today.
Planning Commission voted 4-0.
So my commissioner wasn't yet installed, am I correct?
Yes, he was.
Installed, okay. Also, can you give me the location of the facilities that are already there that you talked about? The gas stations, you said there are 4 within proximity.
There are 3 gas
in the
stations.
same block, are they?
They're within a couple blocks of one another. They're all on the same side of the street. So yeah, they are in close proximity to one another.
How about, you mentioned restaurants. I know they're kind of scattered throughout there. I'm visualizing the spot now in my mind, so I can kind of figure out where it was. So near the market over there, there's a market.
It is
too far from the market.
Not too far from the market, or I believe it's a S&K Mini Mart is also relatively close. It's right there on Kensington.
Right.
Yeah, it's very close.
Thank you. Side of the street, yeah.
Okay. None more questions from the board? I'll open up to the public.
And thanks. Bob Shockley, and as my wife reminded me this morning, this May, 42 years, lived at the same address in Madera. Consequently, or also, the owner of this project, Roger, and his wife, live right around the corner of this proposed Chevron site. Additionally, 3 of his children, well, all 3 of his children, live within the ranchos, within a few blocks of where we're proposing this site. Staff did a great job. I enjoy working with them, done several other projects, and I like Madera. I want to keep doing stuff here, and so I'm here to answer any questions you might have. Additionally, I have John Minnie, the civil engineer, who will be doing the grading plans and anything else that staff requires for us to get done to get building permits. We'd like to start sometime in May.
From Mr. Shockley. By the way, I've known him for a couple of years. Thank you.
Do you have anything to add to what's been said that would, to convince us that there should be a different outcome?
Other than, it's kind of tough to say this. This is America. Competition America is based on competition. The other gas stations that are there, I think the last one is now the Valero. Used to be a Chevron that Chris Bass built, I don't know, 20 years ago. The other stations, the National is only a 1 or 2 pump. The S&K is only a 1 or 2 pump. Yeah, he's upgraded to being a Sinclair, but they're basically unbranded fuel. And Valero, it's, even though we live near the ranchos, my wife and I go to town to buy gasoline, or go to the other town to buy gasoline there, because we just don't like to go to these gas stations that are there on Avenue 12. So, plus Roger promised me, the owner, that he's going to put in ice cream. I want my ice cream. So, other than that, it's going to be a great addition. The exterior of the building is it's going to be one of the best looking buildings there in the ranchos. I can't think of anything else. And
that was what I was looking for.
Okay, excellent. Any questions about any of the civil engineering things? John's here and he can answer those. And yes, we both signed in. And thank you for hearing me. And if anybody has anything negative to say, can I please come back up and offer my 2 or 3, 4 cents worth?
That's important that you have the opportunity to rebut.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm John Minnie. I'm the civil engineer working on the project. And I just wanted to add a couple of things. I've been working for the Guthrie family, who's building the Chevron station for well over 30 years, getting close to 40 years. I've already built several of these stations for them before. They've all gone fine. No problems. They do well. I even bought gas at one of them yesterday when I was driving around. And so, like I said, they've been doing this a long time. They've been doing it very well for a long time. And I've been in the ranchos almost 40 years. I think this is going to be a very positive addition to the community. I have no question about it. So.
Anyone else from the public?
Chuck LaRue, Madera County. Chairman Wheeler, supervisors, Rhonda, Eric, you. I sent you guys, or I gave to Rhonda, these pages yesterday. Hopefully you guys have had them. Hopefully you've had a chance to read it. First, I'd like to ask the lady that did the presentation, who told you that it was 4 blocks? The 3 gas stations were in 4 blocks.
Was submitted with the operational statement.
Those existing 3 gas stations are contained within 2 blocks. Road 37 to Maywood to Fernwood, 2 blocks. And I think there is an objection to the fire flow benefit originally that didn't appear in your report. But I do have it here. People, when this project was presented to the Madera County Planning Commission, and there's on 2618, the question of fire flow hydrant test was brought up and quickly dismissed by an explanation that if the fire flow requirement was not met, then mitigating construction changes such as steel or block construction, fire suppression sprinklers, and on-site water or chemical storage could be used. The question was asked how this official practice was used for the Dollar General construction on Avenue 12, and it was explained at the Madera County Fire Counter on third floor upstairs that the developers have a third party test the existing system and provide to the fire department the information from their test to determine the appropriate measures necessary. Those reports are not kept by the fire department because they belong to the developer. There are no fire suppression sprinklers installed at the Dollar General. There is no on-site fire suppression storage tank of water or chemicals at the Dollar General on Avenue 12 in the Madera Ranchos. The Madera Ranchos Special District Water System has no record of a fire flow hydrant test for MD10A in the 22 years that Madera County supervisors have acted as board of directors of this MD10A water system. According to state fire marshal employees and referenced in the Title 24, Section 9 of the California Fire Code, periodic tests are to be done and records kept by the fire official of the county. Your pages have a reference to that code. There are no such records, and there have been no such tests done by Madera County employees since 1966, or 1996, excuse me. When our community was obligated to a $3.3 million state bond to improve our community water system and provide fire flow benefit to the community. I challenge the Board of Supervisors to explain how it is acceptable to put a fourth gas station in 2 blocks in our community when there is no evidence or record of the fire flow benefit we paid extra money for in 1996 for 5 wells to achieve the fire flow benefit of 1,500 gallons per minute for 60-minute tests for this community. Your predecessor, since receiving the $3.3 million from our 1996 state bond, failed to be in compliance with a state law rule code that required an annual audit of that money to be supplied to the state of California and the 961, I believe that was the number, ratepayers of MD10A. As I understand the story, the state punished our community by not allowing certain state of California grants to be available to us, to the ratepayers, because the Board of Supervisors of Madera County was not in compliance with state law, rules, codes. I believe that Madera County employees have also not been in compliance with California state law, rules, code by failing to conduct and record fire flow hydrant tests for MD10A for the last 22 years.
You went way over the 3 minutes, and is there something else?
It is. And I don't come here very often, do I? Okay. I ask you to indulge us because this goes along with the complaints about the objections that were not presented by your staff. My understanding that without the proper fire flow benefit determined by a 60-minute hydrant test of 1,500 gallons per minute, this community and the public at large will be placed in unnecessary danger. The existing 3 gas stations within 2 blocks with no fire flow benefit is bad enough, but this conditional use permit to place a 4th gas station within these 2 blocks on Avenue 12 in the Madera Ranchos strikes me as more than mismanagement and failure to be in compliance with California state laws, rules, codes by you supervisors. And this is the important part, Tom. In 2008, the Madera County employees from supervisor to heads of appropriate departments came out to our community and asked if we wanted 4 lanes of traffic to go down Avenue 12 or if we wanted a bypass around our community to accommodate the commuter traffic that was headed for Avenue 12 from Highway 41 and Interstate 99. These employees said that they would do what the community wanted. The community said no to 4 lanes of commuter traffic going down our main road. The community agreed with the design of the Madera Planning Department to build one of 3 options to the south of the community past the MID Canal and PG&E power lines. A plan was subsequently drawn up by the Madera Planning Department in May of 2009 showing the 3 options along with cost estimates for each route. This commitment by the Madera County employees of 2008-2009 has been shelved with no action taken since 2009 to implement this bypass. Many Madera County employees are not even aware that this commitment was ever made by the people that had their jobs before they got their current jobs. Shelving this commitment to do a bypass for Avenue 12 between roads 36 and 38, and Madera County allowing a multiple new gas stations on this section of road indicates to me that current employees are not interested in the welfare of our community, and we are once again seeking revenue sources and encouraging their original objective to place 4 lanes of traffic on Avenue 12, with many gas stations for the commuters. Once again, I challenge your concept of transparency and accountability to the property owners of Madera Ranchos. I ask that you respond to my emails to you all concerning the lack of fire flow benefit that we paid for in 1996 that you have not responded to for weeks now. I ask that you not approve a 4th gas station within 2 blocks on Avenue 12 that represents an increased danger to the community and the public. I ask that you, Board of Directors of MD-10A, instruct your staff to be in compliance with California State Fire Code and do the fire flow test at the hydrants of MD-10A, as opposed to continuing the mismanagement, business as usual, kicking the can down the road for the last 22 years.
On that, on the bypass, Brett and I both, and Max sat on the MCTC Transportation Committee, and it is in our drawing. A dump that nobody's come up with any money how to do it. It takes lots of millions to do that. And
right, now you got a governor that just jacked up the taxes on the gas, on the fuel, and registrations. There's money available, and you finally have a grant writer, and I asked that grant writer if he would apply for that in Brett's presence, and he said yes. So there are options now that there were not.
Now there is no money for new roads. That money is for repair and maintenance of all of our roads in all of California, which we have 1,600 miles just in Madera County that we get a bit enough to maintain them. So to build new roads right now, we are not going to do it. We don't have the money.
I'm not suggesting you do it as the board of directors of our water system or as the supervisors of this county. I'm suggesting that you put forth the effort to get the money from the state of the feds.
Like I said,
for 60 years we've paid property taxes and we don't have any benefit out there for it yet. We ought to do something.
On our list. I'm on that committee.
It's been on the list for 9 years, Tom.
On our committee for the county. On one of our projects that if funding comes through, be prioritized and see.
You guys are actively seeking funding? Is that what you're telling me?
Funding every day for monies for our roads, every single day. There's not a day goes by that we don't hear, one of us hears something about dollars that might be available for our roads. Don't ever think we don't, because that's one of our priorities.
Thing was shelved for 9 years, Tom. At one of Brett's meetings, one of your top guys from the county said that.
How was Rio Mesa going, Chuck?
That's
I think we're getting
that's a commercial enterprise for profit. That's not a safety issue for a community of 1,400 property owners.
I think we're getting outside of this public hearing.
Do you want to address the fire flow for the public?
Good morning, Deborah Mahler, Madera County Fire Marshal. Chuck brought up a lot of things. There has been ongoing communication between, CED with Mr. LaRue. I think Brett has been involved in some of those communications. So a lot of what he brings up here has been previously addressed in multiple emails. But what was shared at Planning Commission that was also reiterated in emails is how the county does require fire testing. We leave it up to the fire code requires the code authority to periodically requires periodic testing as required by the code official, and records are to be maintained by the water company. The flow test records should be maintained by my office. So there's two different things. Since I've been the county fire marshal since 2009, we've been pretty much in a drought. How hydrants are tested is basically you're putting 3,000 gallons on the ground going down these communities. That is not something that a lot of the general population is embracing when they are not allowed to, restricted domestic uses. So we leave that up to the water companies to make that determination on whether that's a good use of a limited resource on their end. So what we require when somebody applies for a building permit is a flow test on that hydrant that's within proximity to their construction site. So we are wasting some water, but it's required by code. So what we do is we have the property owner or whoever's building the building will contract with a C16 contractor or a fire protection engineer. Those people go out there and test the hydrants when working in conjunction with the water company. We don't want the water company, we want them involved so they know that their valves are getting open. They know water is going down the street. They need to be there. So that's set up through them. We get a copy of that, and it usually goes in the building department file under that permit. Now, when Mr. LaRue contacted us, that is, I will own that we should have a folder of what has been flowed, what contractors have done this, but we do get provided copies of that, as does, any water system. But the normal testing procedure is not 1 hour of flowing a hydrant where it just 90,000 gallons is going down the street. What it is about roughly 2 minutes.
But we have to protect
It's required by code. What we normally do to meet the intent of the California Fire Code, which is what the building and the fire codes look at, is you try to meet the intent of the code. And that is, we flow a hydrant, or we can look at also, it allows us to look at historical data of past hydrant flows. So if there have been no significant changes, they have not improved or infrastructure has decreased, there's no reason to waste that water and redo that flow test because, statistically and calculations-wise, nothing has changed. The pipe hasn't shrank from a 12-inch diameter pipe to an 8. It hasn't, in 3 years. So we try to insert some of this common sense into the use of a limited resource. So with the fire flow benefit, I cannot comment on that. I don't have anything.
They're going to have to do a fire flow test, and if they don't, if the hydrant doesn't pass, then what happens?
Chevron, at issuance of a building permit, prior to a building permit being pulled by them, they will be required to do a hydrant test. The same procedures that they will hire a C16 contractor, work in conjunction with Public Works. If they do not meet fire flow, say there is a discrepancy of the hydrant produces 1,400 gallons a minute, it's required to have 1,500 gallons a minute. At that point, we can build in construction measures.
I'm sorry, Rogers.
Is there a way to capture, we have vehicles that can capture that water. Is there a way to capture that and when the valves open, or does it have to be free flow?
There are ways but it would also, you could utilize our water tenders for the fire department, but they're already full of water, right? So right now they're sitting at the fire station full of water. So you'd have multiple agencies that would have to get involved, and even then that water tender would only hold 2 minutes of available flow. So you'd be shuttling, you'd have to. So yes, that is a possibility. Okay. It would take a lot of work.
Okay. Do we have construction vehicles that contain water that we could utilize? Some of our road departments.
Ahmad may be able to see if I don't know that they have. I think Ahmad would be able to speak to his fleet and what if he's
trying to find a solution for this.
In times of drought, we should, if someone's going to have to do one of those, we should get the water onto Webster's fields, right, Andy? Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ahmad Al-Kayat, Public Works Director. Yeah, the talk about exercising our hydrants, though it's a really good idea, but given the status of our infrastructure, the old 50-year-old asbestos concrete pipes, if we do this as an exercise, as a routine exercise where there is no policy for us to do that, that will jeopardize the system. So it's a good idea maybe if we establish a policy, put it in our maintenance program, properly assess it and increase the rate and the next rate increase for the district to put it as part of the maintenance program. And that, my recommendation is to do that after we have the ability to go and replace the old pipes. But just an exercise, just to, after we've received communication from Mr. LaRue, Mohammed Al-Khatami, our special districts manager, and Marty Duval, our utility manager, went and just picked, where can we test the hydrant, just to see where we actually stand, because we know we do have flow. We can meet the fire flow. The system currently, even though one is out for repairs, the Charlton well is out, we are at about 2,200 gallons a minute. So we have the water flow, but of course things will be better because we know the plan for MD10A. So they picked a spot, and they shared it with me. And that spot was on Avenue 13, west of Avenue 37.5. There's a hydrant there because there's it's a newer pipe. So the risk is limited. And they tested it for 10 minutes, and we got 15,002 gallons per minute. So that's just at random at that spot. So, but like I said, it's an exercise that is costly. And also, we did this there because we own that property as well, so we let the water go on the ground. It was hopefully absorbed by the field. So this is, there's a lot to do, but the system is not. So basically, I don't know if that answers the question. So to capture that water, I mean, eventually, even if it goes on the street, hopefully, if you ignore the evaporations, most of it will go into the ground.
Recharges, hopefully.
With our storm, because the ranches is part of our storm water control district. So.
Okay. I erased this, so Dave, is that done? Okay.
Go ahead. I was just hoping for, if we could cooperate on that with some of our equipment and capture that water and use it sensibly. I think the residents would feel better about that than just letting it run out on the ground.
That's an excellent point, Supervisor, and we'll certainly look towards coordinating that next possibility on that and see what.
Thank you.
Brett's got one more. Okay, Chuck. He's going
to address that water wastage. When you guys tested the Dublin well, you did 1,000 gallons a minute, I think, for 48 hours. You did about 6 acre-feet of water into the MID Canal 6.2 out there. There was no use of that water. There's no storage of that water. It wasn't even used for a recharge because the engineer running that test said that the state of California law says that you cannot dispose of that water because it may have chemicals or toxic. And I said, since when is the MID Canal a recipient or a conveyor for toxic water? Duh. Ms. Mahler, did you acknowledge that the California Code does require periodic testing and recording?
Yes, I stated that.
There are no records of any of that testing done in our special district water system. It's not a water company, it's a water system, and these are the directors of that water system.
You just heard our Ahmad talk about how we're going to.
The thing about
you made a change. It's good.
The thing about the fire flow benefit is
you don't have to worry about the back part of it, Chuck. We're moving forward, Chuck. We're going to be doing it.
To take care of what hasn't been done. Boyle Engineering came up with a 1,500 gallons a minute for 60 minutes for fire flow benefit. That's why we paid additional money that your predecessors did 2 wells and said enough water.
Just said that that's what they did, and it was enough.
If you just
never had the fire flow benefit,
you've asked the question, you listen to the answers. You got it?
60 minutes. 60-minute test, not 10 minutes.
I'd let you go way over.
Also,
going back, revisiting.
Also heard Deborah Mueller say that you don't do a full 60-minute test. You use you can do Matt, Chuck, you've talked enough. 10 minutes. 20 by 6, Chuck. I think you've gone over your
20 pounds per square inch testing.
Okay, thank you, Chuck, very much. Any other public comment? Open to the public. Bring it back to the board. What's your pleasure?
So I think I'm on here.
I'm sorry, I had you on.
Okay, I'll make it as part of my motion. But as you can see, like all politics is truly local, right? This when the statement was regarding the amount of blocks that this takes up. It also has Madera Ranchos Market in it, which brings in the other block. Read further with that. I know the people that I'm friends with the people that are proposing this and the ones that are against it. I use every single one of all three of the gas stations. I'll continue to do so, and I'll use this fourth one as well. It just depends on who has the best fried food for me in the morning when I'm eating my breakfast, literally. And our system is based on competition. Now, it says here that there could be a higher and better use on this piece of property. This piece of property has been empty for forever. Well, there was something there before. It looks like it's, yeah, well, it was empty before the rancho started too, so forever. I'll say it again. And no one has found a higher or better use until right now. So we have someone who's willing to risk their capital to place another business here. This is not, the county didn't go out and ask for somebody to put another gas station here because we don't want to do the bypass. We're getting way far out of that. These people don't know about what the bypass is or what the county's.
Okay, I'm done here. Hey, hold it 1 second. I've closed the public hearing already. I'm closing it again. There's no more speaking on that. It's up to us now. Do you guys want to make a motion to do something with this piece of property?
Yes. I move that we approve or
deny the appeal.
Deny the appeal.
Second the motion, and I based that second on property rights and freedom, competition. That's the litmus test for everything I do in this county. I continue to assert that. That will always be the litmus test. And that's something that Americans enjoy more above any other country.
Okay. This freedom. Thank you. Call for the roll call.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers? Yes. Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez? Yes. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
I just want the public to know that I know this will be the third or fourth station in that 2 blocks. Well, up in Oakhurst, I got in a confrontation with a couple of people about an auto parts store in Oakhurst. There's 3 of them now. They're one's being built within a half a block. Maybe a little over half a block, but not much. All big name ones, and they said, why did we allow another auto parts store in there? We don't allow that. Those people own that, and if that's what they want to do, and they want to spend their money to do whatever it might be, whether it's a gas station or an auto parts store, that's free America. America the way it is, and it's just the way it goes. Okay, we got one more public hearing, 6B.
B, Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division. Hearing to amend the general plan pursuant to Section 6535(8) of the Government Code. Rush Shaw and the Golden Valley Unified School District have requested a general plan text change to amend the road classification of Avenue 12 from Road 35 to Road 36 from limited expressway to arterial. This project is exempt pursuant to Section 15301 of the California Environmental Equality Act and is available for public review at the Madera County Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Treber again, Planning Director, here with Jamie Bax this time, Senior Planner, and Jamie has a very brief presentation for the board.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Before you is a general plan text change. It's general plan number 2017-002 requested by Mr. Rush Shaw and the Golden Valley Unified School District. So currently Avenue 12 Avenue 12 is designated as a limited expressway. Limited expressway is a 4 to 6 lane facility. Intersection spacing is at 1 to 1.5 mile increments, and it prohibits new driveways. This proposal will classify the 1 mile stretch between roads 35 and 36 to arterial, which is similar to the existing use through the ranchos on Avenue 12. This will allow for access to the high school expansion that's being proposed by the school district and the new commercial development that's already been approved on the south side of Avenue 12. It'll allow for that additional access. Under CEQA, staff has determined this to be exempt, no significant effect on the environment. And attached or before you is a map showing the existing bounds of the Madera Ranchos, but it does show the blue portion is the portion in front of the school, which basically is the area that's being requested to be changed. On March 6th, the Planning Commission voted 4-0 in favor with one absent, recommending approval of General Plan Text Change number 2017-002, and I'm available for any questions.
Any questions from the board members? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, I close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for your...
I think this is just a very important piece to realize, especially as the expansion of Liberty with the ag department that's going to be out there. Kids are going to be bringing out trailers, different things. We need to have it slowed down for them just as a safety precaution. I think this will also be a good buffer as you're coming into the ranchos. If you hit that green light at 36 and 12. Most people are still at 55, 60 miles an hour as they're coming into the rancho. There needs to be a kind of a slow down buffer there. So I think I move to approve this item.
Second.
Call, please.
For the vote, Supervisor Frazier, Supervisor Rogers, Supervisor Rodriguez, Supervisor Poitras, Supervisor Wheeler. Oh, 5-0. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just looked at that and I just thought that was a great deal for us, and it just Avenue 12 is going to grow. I don't care what we do. It's a community, and it's been there since I've been in high school when it started, and it's going to continue to grow whether people like it or not. And I'm just glad that they're doing some responsible growth out there. So sorry, Rhonda, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's my yes vote.
Mr. Chairman, I would just add, and apologize for not including it in that presentation, but this item, and I know it didn't come up, certainly does nothing but also facilitate a bypass of Avenue 12 if and when that ever does come to fruition. We should put that on the record that this does not impact the ability in any way, shape to be able to do that bypass.
Before we break for lunch, we got 5 minutes. I want to do 7F. And get that done, and then we'll go for lunch after that.
F at County Administration Department, Fire Department. Discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution approving lease financing for the acquisition of 2 fire engines, 1 water tender, and associated equipment, and authorizing the county administrative officer or his designee to execute and deliver the lease and related documents on behalf of the county.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Joel Begay, County Administrative Office. I'll do a quick introduction of the finance components. I'll turn over to Matt Watson from the Fire Department. Resolution. Just a quick on the resolution. It's asking for your board to delegate authority to CAO to execute the lease financing for the equipment. These are the equipment that was ordered April of last year. They're expected to be delivered next month. So this, and we're going to lease finance that as part of the fire equipment and replacement program. I'll turn it over now to Matt Watson.
Chairman, Board of Supervisors. As you guys remember, last year we did a comprehensive study on the fire equipment, and the board approved the first time ever a fire replacement program for the fire department. And we looked at the aging equipment we currently have, and there were some different options: is to get into a long-term replacement program or buy a whole bunch of equipment up front. The goal for the fire department, I believe the county and the Board of Supervisors, was to spread that over time to get us in compliance with a replacement plan. And that's the first step in this program, is these 2 engines and water tender. And once, if the board approves this, then we'll move forward in April for the next year's order, because it's 365 to 410 days for construction once we sign an agreement. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
public comment? Seeing none, I just can't say how important this is. Jeez, I can't tell you. Thank you.
This is the way to approach depreciating assets, how to replace them, because they're ultimately going to need to be. It's the right way to do it.
Planning and a plan, without a plan, you're failing, so we're planning well.
Roll call.
For the vote, Supervisor Rogers, Supervisor Rodriguez, Supervisor Frazier,
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras, Supervisor Wheeler.
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
A break and
Thank you all for your continued support of public safety. We appreciate
Matt.
Thank you for having that long-term contract with with Madera County, 1927. Thank you. We'll come back from lunch at 1:30. How's that? Very good. Help you.
How you like that? We're ready to start back again. Yeah. Okay, 7G. Is it working?
We're working, yes. 7G, Hall of Justice Professional Architecture and Engineering Services. 1, consideration entering into an agreement with Ross Drulis, Quisenberry Architecture, Inc. in the amount of $557,517 for professional architectural and engineering services related to the Hall of Justice capital project. 2, discussion and consideration of approval of transfer of appropriations number 17-081 in the amount of $158,000. Transfer from appropriations for contingencies to cash flow loan operating transfer out. 4 votes required. 3, discussion and consideration of approval of receipt of unanticipated revenue number 17-081 in the amount of $158,000 for cash flow loan operating transfer in and appropriated to buildings and improvements. 4 votes required.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
I guess I'm supposed to kick this.
One of them was flipping a coin to see who was going to take the lead on it.
So we're real excited to be here today. This is a project that's been on the books. I think first official action was taken on this back in 2009, 2010, when through the RDA we were able to acquire our first piece of this property that was to be assembled for this new Hall of Justice project. And so we're happy to be here today with a recommendation to start moving forward to the next phase where things get serious. So with that, I'll turn it over to our team who knows a lot more about what's going on than I do.
For the Hall of Justice project, exciting new building. Back in, for a little bit of the project background.
The microphone a little bit closer to your mouth, please.
We have a power.
Okay.
For the background of the project, back in 2014, the board adopted the Road 28 campus study, and the Hall of Justice was identified under Phase 4 of that study. Even before that, though, this project was listed under an approved project list as a countywide public protection project in 2010. In 2014, the county acquired 3 parcels over near 7th Street and G Street. And then we've also accepted the deed from a former redevelopment agency for an additional parcel. Then in September of 2015, the county purchased another parcel in that area. So there's definitely been a lot of work on this over the past several years. And then in November 2015, the abatement and demolition of all the existing structures on those parcels listed above. So getting the land ready for a new building.
Good afternoon, board members, chairman. To just give you a brief overview of the project, Hall of Justice is scheduled to house DA and adult probation department. It's approximately going to be a 54,000 square foot building. Square footage. It will consist of visitor parking, secure staff parking. It will be a 2 or 3 level building, and the trees and plants are, as always, will be drought tolerant and low allergen. So we went through an RFP process, 2018-36. A selection committee composed of county administration, adult probation, and district attorney departments evaluated and interviewed the top 3 firms. The top 3 firms were Skidmore, Owens, and Merrill, Ross, Drulis, Quisenberry Architecture, and Dreyfus and Blackbird Architecture. So after interviewing these firms and reviewing their proposals, the selection committee determined that Ross, Drulis, Quisenberry Architecture out of Sonoma, California, was the most cost-effective and qualified firm to complete this project. So upon approval today, the Ross, Drulis, Quisenberry Architecture would be commencing design work of Phase 1 which consists of pre-design and schematic design services. Some of these items included in this phase are topographic survey, site geotechnical study, site hazardous analysis, and then a CEQA analysis as well.
In the current year budget, your board has approved $404,000 in appropriations coming from the remaining tobacco security fund for this project. After the bids for the A&E contract were awarded, it was determined that an additional $158,000 was needed to meet the full schematic design cost. So that is what the proposed transfer from contingency of $158,000 is for, intended for. It is labeled as a cash flow loan because it is intended to propose that this project be funded through the same funding mechanism similar to how we finance the government center. The current estimate for construction, at least in the early stages, is about $25 million, and through that financing, this $158,000 cash flow loan would be reimbursed back to the general fund. As Jorge has mentioned, we are currently in phase one. At the end of phase one, we'll know firmer numbers both on the design and development stage, which would then allow us to move forward with working with a financial services firm to look at financing options for the construction of the project. We just wanted to note that there is an additional parcel that needs to be acquired, and at this point, the cost is unknown at this point.
A what?
Is unknown at this point.
Oh, unknown, okay.
But that would be an additional cost that we need to factor.
Where does that parcel need, I mean, we have the whole block there, don't we?
No.
Those are,
It's property located at 312 G Street.
So it's that south of the project right now, that number 02 on the front map on page, you didn't put page number, so
Correct.
that kind of screws
It's
things up.
02,
So put
parcel
page
02.
numbers on your PowerPoint so we can go back.
Correct. That's part of the parcel 02.
So it's 02, right?
It is multi-family unit. We are in negotiations with them, but it's going to come down to pricing. We're quite a ways apart, so we'll have to go through a process, but we'll be reporting back to your board on that.
809 too?
There's just one parcel that's needed. Correct. It's the one that's got the multi-family unit. It's on the southeast, bottom southeast portion, right? Correct?
Correct.
it's not this 02, it's on the bottom southeast?
Yeah, it's just right here, this 02
Along G Street.
on G Street.
Yeah, 312 G Street.
I can see the picture of the building on this next slide that you guys ain't got numbers on the page, so I can't tell you, but the last one you just done, it shows where that goes right up next to the property line right here, Brett, see?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, on page 6, they're up on the top. You guys hid them from us.
Oh, I see them.
We'll be more careful.
On page 6, that shows that the building you want to build is right up next to the property line. Is that what you're looking at?
There you go. Yeah, that one clearly reflects
Okay.
the building on top of that
That-
property that needs to be purchased.
Does that answer that, Brett?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no way to lay it out otherwise?
Can you repeat that again?
There's no way to lay it out in a different fashion with the parking maybe
So-
right there and Hall of Justice?
So the original intent of this building through the original Road 28 study actually had this building as a 2-story underneath parking and then 2 levels. So it was a total of 4 levels.
Yeah.
But digging a basement and building 2 parking spots basically was going to be more expensive. So
Oh,
originally,
I see.
this project was $4 million, and so we need to acquire this site to acquire the necessary parking necessary for this building.
And does it need to be
So-
contiguous parking, or can, if we can't get the multifamily out, because, I mean, that's going to be expensive to buy out an apartment building versus a single, I mean, I would imagine we'd probably have to not just buy out the landowner, but everybody who lives in that apartment building is going to have to get some kind of moving money. Is there, does the parking have to be contiguous, or can it be, is there other lots here that would be easier to purchase and have somewhat outside parking?
At this point, we're just pursuing the one. If we get to a point where it doesn't look like it's feasible, we'll certainly explore other options. I think on the opposite side, going further south on the west side is an even more expensive piece of property, and so that's why we stayed on the east side.
Okay.
And on slide 7, I think that is not the layout that we're looking at. I think that was just a concept drawing.
Correct.
It is the one on 6, and the reason it was laid out that way is because we got an adequate amount of surface parking, and we didn't have to build
that square footage. Yeah. Page 7. What's that design? That.
So these are just conceptual drawings provided early on by the proposed architecture firm of possible layouts for the building to accomplish, one, a security standpoint, and then providing various accesses to probation and district attorney as well. So these are just conceptual drawings. Once we start meeting with the department and doing a program verification, we'll be able to determine a firmer layout based on their needs.
Is there any way on the existing parking spot of where we have acquired property, 2 levels of parking?
We can.
I know it'll be more.
It's going to be more
expensive, but if you have just one, it doesn't have to be maybe like a huge parking structure, but just one more level. I mean, just depending on, it comes down to headache and cost.
Well, maybe they can, after they see what the cost of this building, that lot's going to be, then we can justify whether we want to go look at a 2-story one or a single one after we get those numbers from doing the investigation on it.
And I know initially we looked at a structure, and the structure was going to be like $10 million. So I think on the high end, this multifamily parcel is probably $400,000. So we'll definitely look at both to make sure that we're pursuing the most economical.
And if we can look at what the relocation cost would be too, because there's going to be.
Understood.
Continue. Is that it?
Yeah, that concludes the formal presentation. The next step really is to get through phase 1 schematic design, and then that takes us through August, and then the next will be design development construction.
Supervisor Poitras.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a question. You mentioned that design, development, and construction will be financed using a similar structure as the government center. Maybe you could remind me what that structure is.
Yes, Supervisor. The government center is originally, when it was financed, it was a certificate of participation. So it's a COP. When it was refinanced as the lease back to the Madera Public Finance Authority, so it's a lease finance currently. So we'll be looking at a similar, using the Madera County Public Finance Authority to get the lease bond proceeds that will lease it back from the finance.
By the way, the sound's working pretty good, huh? Oh. Good job, boys. Any other questions from the supervisors? Open up to the public. Come on up, Mr. Rick.
Oh, it's work. Oh, there it goes. Just the one thing I was going to add, the supervisors were talking about needing additional space. I've been recommending that road, the street in between the 2 buildings, the east side of that be closed down to gain additional space. They need the west side of that road for access to for the judges and for DOC to get into the parking structure.
Yeah.
But the east side is wasted space, and we're going to have a lot of traffic crossing. So it'd be better to eliminate that half of the street and gain that additional space for parking or the building.
Kind of how with the Catholic Church, the way they abandoned that street that used to go through. I forget what but that creates some more parking. Right. That's a good idea, Rick.
Maybe you guys can look at that then.
We'll call it Rick Way.
Yeah. Dupree Lane.
Dupree Lane.
Yeah. There's a lot of Ricks. There's not very many Duprees.
Any other from the public? Seeing none, what's your pleasure, Mr. Board members?
I'll make a motion for approval.
Second? Oh.
We got a first and a second. Mr. Max, roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Just don't call me Rogers.
Thank you.
You've had worse insults.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Mic drop.
All right.
When we're worried about parking, Wonder Woman has an invisible jet, and then flies in, right? The Hall of Justice.
Yeah.
You guys don't,
Yes.
you're not comic book fans?
Absolutely.
The League of Justice.
The League of Justice.
7I.
7I, County Administration Department, Human Resources Operations Division. Discussion and consideration of approval to amend the classification plan for the District Attorney's Office effective April 1st, 2018 with direction to, 1, add the class of District Attorney Administrative Specialist. 2, set the salary range for District Attorney Administrative Specialist as follows. Range 182, $3,749 per month, $44,988.89 annually, and $17.79 per hour. 3, designate the District Attorney Administrative Specialist class as overtime eligible pursuant to the Fair Labor Standards Act. 4, allocate the District Attorney Administrative Specialist class to the clerical unit for bargaining processes. 5, direct the Human Resources Operations Division of County Administration to amend the position allocation within Org Key 03510 as follows. A, reduce the program assistant 1-2 senior or legal secretary 1-2 allocation to 1 full-time employee position. B, add 1 full-time employee position and allocate it to the class of District Attorney Administrative Specialist.
Move to approve.
Second?
Got a second? Any discussion from the board members? Any from the public? Seeing none? Roll call?
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Adrian. Great presentation.
Thank you.
You do such a good job.
It's so brief.
Yes. 7J.
7J, County Administration Department, Human Resources Operation Division. Discussion and consideration of approval to amend the classification plan for the Office of Information Technology effective April 1st, 2018 with direction to, 1, add the class of Geographical Information System Manager. 2, set the salary for the Geographical Information System Manager as follows. Range 331, $6,549 to $7,961 per month, $78,599 to $95,537 annually, $37.78 to $45.93 per hour. 3, designate the Geographical Information System Manager class as an overtime exempt pursuant to the Fair Labor Standards Act. 4, allocate the Geographical Information System Manager class to the Mid-Management Unit for bargaining purposes. 5, direct the Human Resources Operations Division of County Administration to amend the position allocation with Org Key 00240 as follows. A, add 1 full-time employee and allocate it to the class of Geographical Information System Manager.
Okay, any comments?
Actually, yeah, just a really quick comment. Thank you, Chairman. We have the Chief Information Officer here as well if the board has any questions. But this is an item that is presented before you because of a needed position in our county organization to help with the GIS function of our county. This is the first position actually designated to this particular function in our county, and the individual who will eventually be recruited and serve in this capacity will serve as a hub to assist the major utilizing departments of a GIS system to better serve the constituents of Madera County.
Thank you. Supervisor Frazier.
Yeah,
Pro
this is
Tem.
something that we need. How have we been filling this need in the past?
Well,
You want me to tell you?
Yeah, no,
I don't.
Yeah, I'd like to
Guarantee
just to be
you,
on the. Yeah.
our system is every architect or surveyor I talk to says ours never match up with anything that's really legal out there.
Yeah, no,
So
yeah.
that's just
terrible, and I can't wait to get something on this, a person like this.
To answer your question,
Go ahead.
Supervisor Frazier, we have not.
And this would be considered a fairly important function of a county planning,
Everything.
building department, and
Yes.
everything. I'm
Almost
just trying to make
every-
these.
almost
I'm trying.
every-
No, I understand.
Oh.
I want this.
Went to
I'm
public
trying to
hearing.
make this very clear as to why we need this.
So adamant about it.
Yeah.
It's almost not quite maybe as important as our water department, but it's right there with it.
Well-
And we want to be, when these people get online and tell us they got a road right here that's supposed to be county road and it's sitting on Tom Wheeler's property and they can't go fix it because it ain't.
Well,
our GIS is not-
even just looking at using the water department as a perfect example, we have parts that were within different sub-basins, and if we would have had this kind of mapping ability and somebody that could have looked at this a lot, it would have made our job a lot easier, and we would have been able to take care of some issues that are coming up right now that should not have been coming up right now. We should have been able to take care of it on the front end, especially given the functions that we need. Based on that, I will make a motion for approval. You guys have really finally twisted my arm, and I now understand why we need it.
Well, I've sat in their office down there trying to line up some of these properties, and it hasn't been fun.
Second.
He seconded it.
Oh, he did already?
Yeah, and Dave,
Okay.
Dave beat you this time.
All right.
I got it. I'll cancel him out. You go ahead and second it.
Thanks.
Call for the question. Call for the vote.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez? Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you very
guys.
much.
7K.
7K, Probation Department Juvenile Detention Facility Division. Discussion and consideration of approval for temporary additional compensation in the amount of 2.5% for an existing Juvenile Detention Officer 3 to oversee a special project within the juvenile detention facility effective March 1, 2018.
Move to approve.
Questions from the rest of the board members?
I have a question.
Yes, Mr.
What's the
Poitras.
special project?
It's to comply with Section 1355 of Title 15, which was changed by the BSCC approximately 2 years ago. We've kind of been skirting around it because we haven't had our inspection until this past year. Well, they dinged us for it. Well, they dinged us on the pre-inspection, so we got it up and running with this position. And so this is just a temporary fix until I decide what position would actually be best to fill the needs of this section. Kings County, for example, added a PO, a lieutenant, and a juvenile detention officer to comply with this. I think that's a little bit of an overkill. So this was the easiest and quickest way to kind of temporarily fix this, because this is just a temporary assignment until we can determine what position would be best to fill this permanently. And once I do, I'll come back to the board and, well, speak to Eric and Joel first, and then go to the board with what needs to be done to permanently fix this issue.
Well, that's, it's a requirement. I'm not exactly sure what you were saying with all that, with as far as throwing out the codes and the numbers
I'm
and all
sorry.
that, but, unless somebody else understood.
Bottom line, state says we got to do it.
We had to do it.
So
Okay.
that's the bottom line.
I started writing down Section 13, and then it kept going, and I was like, he's got to be up to date on it.
Supervisor Rogers.
Yeah, I just want to say, Rick, you just never cease to amaze me how you take care of business, and through the years, compliance with AB 109 and all of that. We're just very lucky to have you.
Well, I appreciate that. I have a great board that work under their direction, so it makes my job much easier.
I just wanted to make that statement. We do appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Call.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
I thought we did it. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, team.
Thank you.
7L.
7L, Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division, Establishment of Public Finance Authority, Riverstone. 1, discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution establishing a public financing authority for the proposed Riverstone Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District. 2, discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution of the County of Madera declaring its intentions to establish the Riverstone Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Preber, Planning Director here. Jamie Bax is also alongside of me, Senior Planner. We have a brief, it's only about a 30-minute presentation for the board's consideration today. So we'll try to.
So you better hurry because it's going on right now.
Before we try to expedite that.
Before we begin, Mr. Chairman, I have a question for County Council.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. I was waiting for you to give me the yes.
Yes.
Go ahead. I want to make it clear that I have received significant contributions from Tim Jones and Riverstone, and that is there any conflict in me hearing or voting on this issue?
The way the government code works is campaign contributions are not income or gifts. Political Reform Act, and so as long as they are truly campaign contributions, when you sit as a member of the board, you do not have to conflict out. So they're very fact specific, and you know. But then, of course, there's also reporting requirements for campaign contributions that are separate and apart from your Form 700s. And so, when in doubt, sit it out. But a true campaign contribution doesn't create a conflict when you sit in this body. If you out at LAFCO or some other Brown Act body, then you would have to state your conflict.
No problem with that answer because I knew the answer before I asked it. I'm going to continue to ask that question through the course of doing business because this is exactly what we've been accused of, and my contributions are legitimate. They are disclosed on my forms as they should be. They're not hidden, and they never will be, and I'm sure that's the same is true for the rest of this board. And it's not something I am concerned about being known by the public because it's already known and available to the public to know that. They were campaign contributions, not income, and they're legitimate and disclosed. So I have no problem sitting and hearing this. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we do have a presentation. What we're requesting today for the board is the adoption of a resolution of intent to form an enhanced infrastructure financing district, as well as the creation of the Public Financing Authority Board, which would then sit as the decision body for the enhanced infrastructure financing district. This is a tool that came out of the state legislature in 2014. It allows for the property tax increment over time to be allocated to specific regional improvements, and we focus it on job generation and creation, and we're looking at primarily the commercial core centers, mixed-use core center, and job generators to allocate those funds. But at this point, your board is simply being asked to adopt the resolution of intent. I believe we have a map that shows the boundaries. You'll notice that it does not include what is deemed as the Phase 1 improvements, where we have a number of homeowners. We took that portion of the property out and contained the remainder of the parcel and the property there. So that's the resolution of intent over those borders identified on that map. And then the Public Financing Authority Board, we do have very similar situation to our existing PFA boards that is made up of 3 board members and 2 public officials. Those public officials we are recommending to be Davinder Mahil and Jim Talbert, and the board members would be the chairman, the vice chairman, and the supervisor of record. However, in this matter, we would recommend that Supervisor Rogers as well sits, since he is on that. So with that, we'll forego the PowerPoint unless you have any specific questions for us.
That's a good point, because he will be pro tem next year, and this will be working, so that just falls right in line. And so, okay, Supervisor Rogers.
Yeah, I am very versed and familiar with tax increment financing, which is an RDA component that's been used through the years. My one concern with it is that it doesn't presuppose on an increase beyond what is, let's say, palatable and does take factors of economic depression into consideration, or what's the word I'm looking, recession. Not necessarily depression. I'm not. Let's hope we don't have a depression. Recession would be a factor that should be taken into consideration when taking action on a tax increment financing component. And can you enlighten me on the model here?
So what would be occurring, right, as that is generated, right, it's going to take a long time before you have enough increment. And typically, the way it would be used is that you could bond at those specific, and there's, you know, a whole lot of analysis and fiscal study to ensure that that bond is adequate and appropriate and certainly marketable, right? You can't go and bond for something today when you have no increment to bond against pay back of that bond. So that's certainly what we look at, and there's a lot of analysis that goes into that. This is just the initial stage of actually getting it set and form. It doesn't mandate that there's ever a bond issued, which is possible that there's never that done. But it wouldn't be done until the county has secured enough property tax. The other thing to point out here, and we're a little premature because it'll be spelled out in once, if the board does adopt and direct this action today, then we'll have a meeting of the Public Financing Authority Board, which will direct staff to prepare that financing infrastructure plan, which is going to lay out a lot of that detail. It's going to lay out how much of that property tax increment would potentially go towards those improvements and the value of that, and you'll see a whole lot of fiscal financial calculations as a part of that. That PFA board would look at that before adoption of the plan.
Part of the process you would incorporate into informing that board to be fiscally responsible in the analysis of the increment at that time. We've got a great project out there. It's gonna generate income. I have no doubt. It's one of the premier organizations that we've got in Madera County. So thank you.
Public. What's your pleasure, board?
Eric had something to say.
I'm sorry.
If it's not too late, Mr. Chairman,
Not
I would just want
the
to.
wrong button.
I would just want to maybe throw out some caution here. I think only under certain circumstances should we even be recommending that you may want to bond against something. I think how we've been operating, at least as staff, is that we would look at committing the future growth increment so that we're not getting ourselves too locked in. I think there's going to be certain circumstances where you may want to consider some sort of bond, but I think for the most part it would just be committing future revenues. And if it fluctuates, when it drops down to the baseline, you don't have a revenue source to, so it's, if it does fluctuate, it's a built-in, the baseline's there, so.
And just to piggyback on a little bit on that, right, it is conceivable that through this process we have a development that would front end a lot of that infrastructure identified and then be paid back by that increment, right, which wouldn't include any bonding mechanism or anything.
And that would be necessary as a result of the economic development that may occur due to the success of the project, because that may happen anyway. I think it will happen anyway. But I just wanted to be clear that I am a very cautious citizen when it comes to betting on the come, and that's exactly what we are doing when we go out to bond, when you tax increment finance based on the bonding of that future income. Thank you.
Approve?
Second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier? Yes. Supervisor Rogers? Yes. Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler? Yes. Vote passes 5-0.
Any pending legislation for anyone? Seeing none. Supervisor and staff reports. Whoop, what?
I was just giving Matt.
I have nothing to report. I have nothing to report.
Good job, man. I attended the RHA, which is the Regional Health Authority, and we'll be attending the JPA real soon for
SJJPA in Los Banos last Friday.
We gave a little talk at the North Fork CDC, Community Development Council, and they've been so successful. This is one of the best years of their annual meeting that they've got to report that they've had since 1993. Well, actually, they started in 96, they said, so, and I was on the original committee when we started that, so. Mr. Eric.
Nothing to report,
Hit
sir.
that. I know.
No report, Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank the board again for approving everything so we could have our upgrade to our AV equipment. And I just want to give a special shout out again to our IT staff, but also to Adaptive Integration, who are our vendors, and to my staff. We all work so closely together, and they're just awesome. I can't say enough good about them. And they even took their lunch hour and made sure that our audio was improved. So thank you.
great. Thank you.
A lot better, I thought. Oh. Hey, we're going to go into closed session and do some interviews. Got any question? We will adjourn after we get out of there.
To adjourn.
I.
I'll report out that there's nothing to report.
Oh, you can have it. Put it in the There's nothing to report out, and we are officially adjourned at 4 o'clock.
Oh.
Boom, boom, de boom, 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 boom. I like to sing. Can't sing worth a darn, but I like to. Man, we got an agenda next week, huh?
Are you around tomorrow?
Tomorrow, I'm busy every day this week except Friday.
We have a very short agenda.